Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to take a look at the news stories making headlines around the globe is Arise News correspondent Aron Akerejola. Hello, Aron. Good to see you.
Yes, good to be here today. Doctor, good morning. Adesso, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, we have good news this morning, and we'll be starting on a good note today. Yeah, let's tell you, the Nigerian President, Muhammadu Buhari, has approved the new minimum wage of 30,000 naira proposed by the Tripartite Committee set up to review the national minimum wage. According to the report, let's say that the president gave his endorsement on Tuesday, the 6th of November, shortly after he received the report of the committee presented to him. The president promised to forward the new minimum wage to the National Assembly for action. He also urged Nigerian workers not to allow themselves to be used as a political weapon. However, analysts have expressed fear that the fresh wage regime could put inflation pressure on the already fragile economy. Analysts say that a 60% minimum wage increase is likely to lead to a general increase in the prices of goods and services in the short term.
Well, let's say this. It's a very good development.
True talk.
That at the end of the day, the federal government and organized labor and organized private sector were able to arrive at some kind of agreement over the national new minimum wage. What we know is that, labor had its way because what has been agreed upon is 30,000 naira. That's what we've been told. Although there are some people who are skeptical, they say, well, we should wait until the presidency forwards the bill to the National Assembly for action for us to be really sure of where we stand in the matter. However, another view is that if this was what was going to happen at the end of the day, perhaps the delay, the drama,
the grandstanding,
the toing and froing could have been avoided.
True.
And clearly all of that was avoidable. However, now that this has been done and the president has reassured everyone that he's committed to the new national minimum wage, I don't think Labour should go to sleep because there are still, other challenges ahead. The first is that when that new national minimum wage bill goes to the National Assembly, will the National Assembly be available to consider it expeditiously, considering the fact that, they don't seem to have a record of paying attention to important things immediately. The other issue related to that is the 2019 budget proposals are already being considered by the National Assembly. This new national minimum wage, where is it going to be paid from? Is it going to be part of the 2019 budget? Because if it's not part of the 2019 Appropriation Act, then, of course, it will still remain at the level of an expression of intention. And what the Nigerian worker expects is that, you will get this new minimum national wage. The third issue, of course, is in terms of public expectations. And I don't know who is going to take up the task of educating the average Nigerian. The average Nigerian out there, the average worker, or the average trader out there does not know that there are still certain consequential steps that should be taken. And that is why your point about inflation is important. Because you could then find a situation where, once the marketers, the traders, the sellers in the markets hear that, workers have been given more money, they will immediately, jack up transport fare and all of that. Then the fourth point is the governors may have agreed, they were part of this final negotiation. Now, even when the minimum wage was 18,000 naira, they were not paying salaries. Some of them were owing salaries up to about 10 months, 20 months, and all of that.
The teachers were the ones that were suffering the most.
Labour will have to take the next step of ensuring that when, at the end of the day, all of this is cleaned up, that those state governments pay the workers. Because if you get a new national minimum wage and nothing is paid and salaries are not available, then, of course, the Nigerian worker will be back to square one.
Indeed. Just looking at the president's speech yesterday when he received the report from the committee, he did mention that there will be some grey areas. He's open to ironing those areas out with Labour. He acknowledged both sides of the divide, saying, the governors saying that they could not, affordability of the payment, and then on the side of Labour, saying this is long overdue. He acknowledges both arguments, and he thanks the committee for the work done over a year, and we are finally here to see that Labour gets what it was demanding. And a lot of people say what they actually due to them, rightly so, after almost 9 years, if not more, since it was last reviewed. We wait to see how this goes, because truly there are a lot of grey areas that have still not been cleared out.
Although it's exciting times for public workers in Nigeria, or workers generally in Nigeria, well, like I've always said, you hit on that point, and I'll also try to emphasize on that particular point, and that's the fact that people are not getting salaries. The worst travesty any probably civil servant or any public servant can actually suffer is the thing that the state governors have actually it's become a norm and a practice, half salaries. When it was 18,000 naira, they were paying half salaries. That is if they paid at all. Now that they now jacked it up to 30,000 naira, I'm now wondering, I'm now asking myself, maybe they'll be getting 25% of their salaries. And the truth is this, like you said, the onus lies on labor to begin to put pressure on these governors. Because when you are paying 25% of salaries, you're paying half salaries, and you are not ticking that particular month and saying that you have paid salaries for these workers, that is by itself is almost criminal. To be very sincere, and we're actually hoping that Labour will not at this point rest on their oars thinking that there is actually victory. The real work has just started, because implementation is more important than even just the passage or this particular process or this particular hurdle we've actually been able to climb. These governors must be put under pressure to pay salaries as at when due, and not half salaries or not 25%, as we see cut across most of the other states. Nigeria. It's really sad. It's really sad. But let's actually move on and say that at least 16 Nigerian soldiers are missing following clashes with Boko Haram jihadists in the Lake Chad area. The incident began when gunmen in several trucks attacked a military base and a local market in the town of Kukakawa late, briefly forcing troops out of the base. The soldiers engaged the terrorists in a fierce battle following the attack. There was no immediate report of casualties on either side, but a civilian militia group confirmed that 16 soldiers were missing and also said that one civilian had been killed in the crossfire.
Well, I think we can only continue to commend the armed forces.
True.
For the effort that they continue to put in to check terrorism in that part of the country. Low-level insurgency, the kind we face, is not the type that you can easily predict, because terrorism has its own peculiarities. You are not dealing with a conventional army. You are dealing with an army that does not wear uniform, that does not have a defined area of operation, that has no obligation to the Geneva Convention. And then that puts, the Nigerian soldier, under immense pressure. And, given the way that terrorism continues to rear its head, even after government had said the Boko Haramists had been technically defeated, this should be a signal to the Nigerian government that a lot more has to be done for the Nigerian military in terms of welfare, in terms of morale, in terms of the provision of the relevant infrastructure. I hope the gentlemen soldiers who have been abducted will be found eventually. And so many of our soldiers have had to lay down their lives. And when you look at that in terms of the implications for their own family life, the feelings of their relations, I think that the armed forces should continuously be commended and supported.
True.
Since we have seen an increase in attacks on military structures recently from the Boko Haram, and that's one thing that the government should pay attention to. It's a fight that continues. They claim that they have defeated, technically defeated, all terms have been used, but we continue to see these attacks, and it's usually at the borders of neighboring countries. This comes hours after there was an attack on a military base as well in the Cameroon, close to the Lake Chad.
Yes.
And so I think that there's a new dimension to this, that security operatives and intelligence should come into play here.
True talk. Also be monitoring the situation. Let's actually move to Greater Africa and find out, let's tell you that the Democratic Republic of Congo's opposition leader have agreed to meet in Geneva to choose a joint candidate for the upcoming presidential election. The elections to take place on the 23rd of December are critical for the future of the DRC, a state that has never experienced peaceful transition of power since it gained independence from Belgium in 1960. Leading opposition figure Felix Tshisekedi will take part in the meeting that is expected to take place over 3 days. 21 candidates are set to take part in the presidential election, with voting also taking place for primary and provincial assemblies.
Well, I think, it's an interesting development.
True.
That the opposition parties in Democratic Republic of Congo are coming together, maybe perhaps out of power. The consensus candidate that these opposition leaders are likely to choose, because Jean-Pierre Bemba and Moïse Katumbi had been banned from taking part in the presidential elections scheduled for this. Other issues, that we need to draw attention to. The hope that this time around, that Joseph Kabila will keep to his promise, to actually leave. Because, he was supposed to leave. He's been in power since 2001,
yes,
after his father died. And then, he was supposed to leave after 2 terms in 2016. And he refused, playing games not just with the people of the DRC, but also with the international community, to such an extent that even Catholic bishops in the DRC, had to march on the streets to say, look, we cannot allow this. So a combination of both local pressure and international pressure is what has brought, DRC to this point. But again, ahead of the elections, apart from this attempt by the opposition parties to come together, there are issues that also will have to be managed. For example, the opposition parties have rejected the electronic voting machines, that the Electoral Commission wants to use. They say it's from South Korea and that it's not been tested. Then, of course, DRC faces major other issues of insecurity, particularly in the eastern part of DRC, in North Kivu. It faces the challenges of Ebola. Over 280 cases already. So there is a public health crisis. So we will expect that the long-term objective will not be for the opposition to say, we just want to get Joseph Kabila out of power. Would do what they would deliver, in terms of taking the DRC out of the crisis in which it is mired.
Looking at this and just reading stories like this, it breaks my heart knowing that our weakest point as Africans is that there is so much deficit in true leadership. We do not have leaders that can actually, because if leadership transition is a problem in Nigeria, if choosing a leader has always been a problem in Africa, then how do we even forge prosperity for the nation when it's always about who should be in power, who is in power, why should a man stay in power, why is a man still in power? A nation, for a continent to experience progress, like we've seen in Singapore, we've seen in China, point at the backwaters that have risen to the forefront, then we begin to ask ourselves, why can we get leaders that are visionary, that can actually vista into the future and say that this is how to lead a nation from where we are to where we want to be? DRC is a typical example. You go around Africa, several countries are actually suffering from this, and this is the reason why Africa is still where it is, because the question is, we should not find it difficult to govern ourselves at this stage. With the kind of exposure we've had in Africa, we should not be finding it difficult to govern ourselves. But still, till this very point in time, we are finding it difficult to govern ourselves, which is a big, big shame.
I think what you're trying to talk about is the sit-tight syndrome we're seeing with African leaders. But interestingly, in DRC Congo...
No, I'm not just talking about sit-tight alone. Even those that are even coming to power, how well do they do?
For me, Joseph Kabila is about 47 years old, if I'm not wrong. He's one of the youngest young leaders.
Who took over for his father.
Exactly, and you would expect that he should be progressive, democratic. When his second term ended in December 2016, a lot of people expected him to relinquish power. worth millions of trillions of dollars in mineral resources. However, they're not enjoying this because militias in some regions, and then you have a president who thinks that he wants to continue to be in power. Hopefully, this meeting in Geneva, which we hold for the next 3 days, would have a unifying candidate, a unity candidate that would be able to, take power off the ruling party and perhaps bring the much-needed change DRC Congo needs at this time.
I want to hold my breath in all sincerity, because what you've always talked about how South Sudan, how you were there when there was supposed to be, it was looking like a beautiful future was awaiting South Sudan, and look at how South Sudan has actually just spiraled out of control.
Yeah, well, as I said, the long-term thing will be to rescue and restore, the DRC. I mean, in Eastern DRC,
yes.
The terrorists who are there, they keep killing every day, and you have this refugee problem. The other day, many Congolese went to Angola, to seek survival, and the Angolan authorities had to expel them to say that they had overstayed their welcome. So you have humanitarian crisis, you have internal security issues. At the end of the day, once Joseph Kabila leaves, it will no longer, I believe, be an issue. And I hope that, the election will not be rigged in favor of the candidate of the ruling party, who is an ally of Joseph Kabila.
Sure talk. All right, down to the U.S., and let's tell you that the Republican Party has retained control of the Senate for another 2 years in the U.S. midterm elections, while the Democrats won the House of Representatives. Democrats won at least 10 of the roughly 24 seats that needs to claim the House control, but fell short in a closely watched race in Kentucky as they fought to win control of the chamber. Republicans seized victory in Indiana high-profile Senate contest, defeating Democratic incumbent John Donnelly. Meanwhile, former presidential hopeful Republican Senator Ted Cruz fended off rising star Democrat Beto O'Rourke to win the re-election in a much-watched Texas race. Overall, the White House are upbeat over the results so far.
We feel good. It's been a good night for the president up until this point. The Senate... He did an event for just yesterday. Obviously, candidates that have embraced the president, embraced his policies, and that he's gone in and campaigned for and worked hard for. We're seeing that pay off tonight. Marsha Blackburn, Andy Barr, Mike Braun in Indiana. So certainly a good... The races where the president has gone in, those candidates are doing extremely well. You also have to look at the fact Joe Manchin's one of the only Democrats to come out and vote for Brett Kavanaugh. I think that's a moment that's probably helped him in some cases. People that are embracing the president, embracing his policies, are doing well. The president's agenda isn't going to change regardless of whose party is there. We're still going to be an administration that's focused on lowering the taxes, growing our economy, creating jobs, defeating ISIS, remaking the judiciary, fixing the tremendous opioid crisis that we have. I think we can work with Democrats on that. We still want to do something on infrastructure, and certainly immigration is a place where we have to spend some time to do in the past, and that's come and work with the president.
Well, I mean, Sarah Sanders, trying to put a positive spin on what has happened in the midterm elections in the United States. President Trump himself, at 5:14 a.m. Today, tweeted and said, "Tremendous success tonight. Thank you all." But the truth of the matter is that, that enthusiasm is not, we have to place it against the facts, the basic facts. The truth is that the Democrats have been able to take the House of Reps,
yes.
And that gives them an advantage. And that means that President Trump has been enjoying, he may no longer see that. Democrats, at the party that was held in Washington, promised bipartisanship. But the truth of the matter is that other Democrats are saying, now this is a time to really question Donald Trump's legislative agenda. This is a time, for the House to hold him accountable. And you may well see a situation whereby, there will be questions about Trump's tax dealings, and other issues coming from the government. So the House, will be an interesting place to watch. Again, the Senate, the Republicans have been able to retain majority here. So the seats that flipped in the House went to the Democrats. The ones that flipped in the Senate went to the Republicans. So what we may see in the remaining 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency is a divided government.
True.
And if you have a divided government, that could mean a lot of tension. That's one. Two, one of the things that we have also seen in this midterm election so far is that some prominent persons were able to hold their seats. Ted Cruz, in Texas, Mitt Romney in Utah, and then the participation of women. You have just about 20% of women in Congress. But this time around, we've had some very interesting developments with women who have emerged. Now, in Texas, you have for the first time 2 Hispanic women coming from Texas to represent, to go to Congress. Now, we don't have the report from Georgia yet, where, the black woman, Adams, who is running for governor, against Brian Kemp. It's a very tight race, but it will be interesting to see, if she wins, then she will be the first, black woman to go to Senate. Then you also have, the example of Alexandria Ocampo-Cortez from the 14th Congressional District in New York. 29-year-old, very young lady who has been very persistent. She has emerged. And then you have, in another state, a woman who has emerged as governor. And then in Colorado, you have for the first time, an openly gay person who has emerged as governor of a state in the United States. But beyond all of this, the women, the women are putting up a better showing. Even a lot of Americans went to the grave of Susan Anthony, the first woman to say, well, this is progress for American women, but I think a lot more lies ahead of them. Then about the issues, some of the issues that came up. In Florida, for example, the people voted to allow convicted felons to be able to vote for the first time. In Missouri, the vote was over interestingly, new minimum wage. On hourly work, in terms of minimum wage. And then in Michigan, the major vote was about legalizing marijuana. So what we have seen here is that, this is an issue-driven election. But beyond all of that, again, is the system itself. In 12 states, there were issues with electronic voting machines. And that may interest Nigerians,
there were technical issues. There's no perfect system.
No technology is perfect anywhere. But I think so far, we commend the Americans. They've put up a very beautiful show, of democracy. And the turnout was unprecedented.
True.
Incredibly long lines, people coming out. And at the end of the day, this was a referendum on the Donald Trump government. And I hope that, he personally will learn some lessons from what has happened.
True.
A lot of manifest in the elections.
Beautiful.
Very interesting.
All right, before we wrap it up, let's say that Britain's Prince Charles and his wife, Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, were greeted by President Muhammadu Buhari. Of Wales also attended a meeting with traditional leaders at the High Commissioner's residence, where he received a book as a gift from the Emir of Kano. Couple's 7-day trip to West Africa. The two were in Gambia and Ghana earlier. Prince Charles and Princess Camilla would visit Lagos today, where he will engage the business community on a wide range of businesses, trade and investment.
Well, I think a good moment for the Nigerian government. But for me, increasingly, when you look at the British royalty, the British royalty is really modernizing very fast.
Yes.
It's loosening up, it's reaching out. And I think that this new phase of the British monarchy would further endear it, not just to the British people, but also to the international community.
Yes.
Before coming here, the Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall, they were in Ghana. And in Ghana, there was this very exciting event for me. There was a dance, a reception for them, and you could see Prince Charles dancing, feeling very free, and the Duchess also. Everybody had nice. And then in Nigeria, he has met with traditional rulers, and I think that at the end of the day, it's not just Nigeria gaining from this, in terms of acceptability, but it's about some of the issues that have come up. We do not have the details yet, but we're told that one of the things the Prince will be talking about with the Nigerian government is how to resolve this issue of herdsmen farmers clashes, which puts Nigeria dangerously at risk. And then, of course, the PDP trying to take advantage of this. I said the Prince free, fair, and credible elections. Whether there will be a transcript, of the interaction, we may not really never know the full details of what they will discuss. But of course, this is good diplomacy by the British.
True.
The pictures were beautiful to see, closed-door meetings. We also hear that the Prince discussed climate change with the President, the education of the girl child, which is very important, very paramount. To meet with the business community. We wait to see what happens there and the outcome of that. It's not just about this visit. It's what we do after this visit. Does it just end? What next? Are we making good use of this visit? What is in for the country? I think those are the things we should be looking at as well. And it's
always a pleasure.
Can't wait to see you again for a double dose of Aron. Well, it's now time for a short break.